In a world that constantly pushes us forward, it's easy to become so focused on where we're going that we forget to look back at where we've come from. But today, I want to remind you of a powerful truth. Don't forget where you come from. Your past, your roots, and your journey are not just pieces of your history, they are the foundation of your strength, your identity, and your faith. As Christians, we are taught to look at our lives through the lens of God's plan and purpose. The Bible reminds us time and time again of the importance of remembering our past and honoring where we came from. In Deuteronomy 8:2, God tells the Israelites to remember how He led them through the wilderness, humbling them and testing them to know what was in their hearts. In the same way, God has led you through your own personal wildernesses, testing and strengthening your faith, teaching you valuable lessons and guiding you to become the person you are today. Your past is a testament to God's faithfulness. No matter how challenging your journey has been, God has been with you every step of the way, shaping you, molding you, and preparing you for something greater. When you remember where you come from, you acknowledge the grace that has carried you, and you recognize the strength that comes from surviving and thriving through it all. Your past, no matter how difficult, is part of God's divine plan to bring you closer to your purpose. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, chasing success and striving for the future, but remembering where you come from keeps you grounded. When you take time to reflect on your journey, you remind yourself of the many blessings and victories, big and small, that God has given you. Your past is filled with the fingerprints of God's love and guidance. Every trial you've overcome, every struggle you've faced is a chapter in the story that only God could have written. And each of those chapters has prepared you for this moment. In the Bible, we are called to honor our heritage and remember the faithfulness of God in our lives. Psalm 103:2-4 says, "Praise the Lord, my soul, and forget not all His benefits, who forgives all your sins and heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit and crowns you with love and compassion." When you remember where you come from, you give thanks for all that God has done in your life. You acknowledge His work in your past and His presence in your future. Don't ever forget the people who've walked beside you, the challenges that have made you stronger, and the faith that has sustained you. It's not just about remembering the good times, it's about acknowledging the tough moments too, because those moments have shaped you into the person God intended you to be. Your struggles are not a sign of weakness, they are a sign of God's refining process, preparing you for a purpose far greater than you can see right now. As you move forward in life, don't lose sight of where you come from. Remember your roots. Stay humble. Be grateful. And most importantly, remember that God has been with you every step of the way, guiding you, protecting you, and leading you toward the destiny He has planned for you. Your journey isn't over, it's just beginning. But when you remember where you come from, you will always be reminded that you have everything you need to move forward with confidence and faith. Your past shapes your strength. There is an undeniable truth about the human journey. What you have gone through in the past shapes who you are today. Every experience, every challenge, every victory, and every setback has contributed to the person you are now. In fact, your past doesn't just define you, it strengthens you. This concept is crucial, especially for those of us who walk in faith. As Christians, we are called to understand that our struggles and past experiences are not in vain. They are the building blocks of the strength God is cultivating in us. When we look back at our lives, it's easy to focus on the moments of pain, suffering, and loss. And many people see their past as a collection of mistakes or regrets, and it can sometimes feel overwhelming. But in truth, every single moment has been part of God's divine plan for you. Your past struggles were never meant to defeat you, they were meant to strengthen you. It is through trials and challenges that we often find our greatest growth. Just as a muscle needs resistance to grow stronger, our spirits need hardship to grow in resilience and faith. Take a moment to reflect on some of the difficult times you faced in your life. Think about how far you've come. The obstacles that once seemed insurmountable, the fears that once paralyzed you, and the uncertainties that threatened to consume you are now behind you. Yet you are still standing. That is strength. You may have felt weak in those moments, but God was using those very moments to refine you, to prepare you for greater things. In the Bible, we are reminded of this truth time and again. Romans 5:3-4 tells us, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." God's word assures us that the struggles we face are not meaningless. They produce a strength that will carry us through life's most difficult moments. When we look back at our past struggles, we see how they have molded our character, deepened our faith, and increased our ability to persevere. What's even more powerful is that our past doesn't just shape our own strength, it also prepares us to help others. The hardships you face, the lessons you've learned, and the faith you've developed give you a unique ability to support others who are going through similar struggles. Your strength is a testimony of God's grace and love. When you share your experiences with others, you show them that if God could carry you through your challenges, He can certainly carry them through theirs. It's important to recognize that although we cannot change the past, we have the power to choose how we respond to it. We can either allow our past to define us in a negative way, or we can choose to see it as a tool for growth. Every difficulty, every loss, and every hardship has been a lesson that God has used to equip you for the purpose He has for your life. Your past shapes your strength in ways you may not even realize. Every moment you've lived, every hardship you've endured, and every triumph you've achieved has prepared you for the journey ahead. It has built a foundation of strength that will continue to guide you, inspire you, and empower you to fulfill the purpose God has called you to. Remember, your past is not a burden. It is the source of the power you carry today. Embrace it, learn from it, and use it to continue growing in faith and strength. Gratitude for God's guidance. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to become so focused on the next goal, the next achievement, or the next challenge that we forget to pause and reflect on one of the most powerful and consistent sources of strength in our lives, God's guidance. Throughout every season, every twist and turn of life, God has been with us, guiding us, leading us, and providing for us in ways both visible and invisible. Recognizing and being grateful for God's guidance is essential for our spiritual journey, as it deepens our faith and strengthens our connection with Him. The Bible is filled with examples of God guiding His people, sometimes in quiet whispers, other times in unmistakable signs. From the moment of creation to the journey of the Israelites in the wilderness, God's guidance has been a steady, unchanging force in the lives of His people. Psalm 23:1-3 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul." This verse beautifully illustrates the care and guidance of God, who like a shepherd leads us to peaceful places and refreshes our spirits. Every step we take is covered by His wisdom and love, and in times of uncertainty, we can trust that He will lead us to the right path. Gratitude for God's guidance begins with the understanding that we are never alone. God's presence is constant, and He offers direction even in the darkest and most confusing times of our lives. Whether you're facing a personal challenge, making a decision, or simply navigating life's uncertainties, His guidance is available. God speaks to us through His word, through prayer, through the counsel of others, and through the quiet promptings of the Holy Spirit. As we walk through life, we are not left to wander aimlessly. We have a guide who knows the way. It's easy to become overwhelmed by the weight of life's decisions, to feel like we're standing at a crossroads with no clear direction. But God assures us in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. When we place our trust in God, he will not leave us to navigate the journey on our own. His wisdom is far greater than ours. And when we surrender our plans to him, we align ourselves with the path he has already set for us. Being grateful for God's guidance is also about acknowledging the times when his leading was clear, even when we didn't realize it at the time. Reflecting on the past can reveal moments when God's hand was on our lives, even in the midst of hardship. Perhaps there was a decision you made years ago that you now recognize as God's leading, or a situation that seemed difficult but turned out to be a stepping stone towards something greater. God works all things for good, and his guidance is never in vain. Whether it's a moment of wisdom and prayer or a breakthrough in the midst of hardship, we are always being guided, protected, and provided for. In gratitude for his guidance, we also recognize that God's direction doesn't always look the way we expect. His ways are higher than our ways, and his timing is perfect. Sometimes we are led down paths we wouldn't have chosen, or we are asked to wait when we are eager to move forward. But in every instance, his guidance is perfect. His plans for us are greater than any plans we could make on our own. And his guidance ensures that we are walking the path designed specifically for us. Gratitude for God's guidance is an essential part of our faith's journey. As we reflect on his constant presence in our lives, we begin to recognize the many ways he has led us, protected us, and given us direction. Whether we are facing decisions, challenges, or moments of uncertainty, we can take comfort in knowing that God is always guiding us toward his will. Let us never forget to express our gratitude for his faithful and loving guidance. For he is a true shepherd who leads us to a future filled with hope, peace, and purpose. Humility and purpose. In a world that often celebrates self-promotion and individual achievement, it's easy to lose sight of the deeper, more profound values that are essential for lasting success and fulfillment. Humility and purpose are two powerful forces that, when intertwined, can transform our lives and the lives of those around us. Both are rooted in the understanding that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, and that our actions, no matter how small, are part of a divine plan that calls us to serve, love, and make an impact. Humility is often misunderstood. It is not about diminishing ourselves or denying our worth. Rather, humility is the recognition that everything we have, every gift we possess, and every opportunity we encounter is a result of God's grace and guidance. In James 4:10, it says, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up." This verse reminds us that humility is not about self-deprecation, but about surrendering our lives to God's will. It's acknowledging that we are not the ultimate source of our strength or success. Instead, God is at the center, and we are his vessels called to use our gifts for a greater purpose. When we approach life with humility, we are freed from the need for constant validation or recognition. Humility allows us to be confident in who we are without the need for comparison or competition. We don't have to constantly prove ourselves because we understand that our value is not dependent on others' opinions. In Philippians 2:3-4, Paul writes, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others." This is the essence of humility, valuing others, putting their needs above our own, and living in service to something larger than ourselves. Purpose, on the other hand, is the driving force that gives our lives meaning. Purpose is the direction that aligns our actions with God's plan for us. It is the reason we wake up every day and strive to be better, to do better, and to contribute to the world around us. In Jeremiah 29:11, God declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and for evil, to give you a future and a hope." This verse assures us that God has a purpose for each of us, a purpose that is uniquely designed to bring him glory and to impact others. When humility and purpose come together, they create a powerful force that propels us toward fulfillment and joy. Humility allows us to seek out and embrace our purpose without selfishness or pride. It keeps us grounded, reminding us that our lives are not about us, but about how we can serve others and honor God. Purpose, in turn, gives humility a direction and a reason to exist. Without purpose, humility can feel aimless, but with a clear sense of purpose, humility becomes the foundation upon which we build a life of service, love, and impact. A life driven by humility and purpose is one that seeks to make a difference, not for personal gain, but for the glory of God and the benefit of others. It's a life that prioritizes serving, loving, and encouraging others, knowing that true fulfillment comes from aligning our lives with God's greater plan. Humility and purpose are not just abstract concepts, they are the pillars upon which we can build a life that reflects God's love and grace. Humility helps us recognize our dependence on God and others, while purpose gives our lives direction and meaning. Together, they guide us toward a life of fulfillment, service, and joy, knowing that we are part of a greater story, one that is written by God's loving hand. Humility opens the door for growth and learning. In our journey through life, growth and learning are essential aspects of our development spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually. However, one of the key qualities that can propel us toward genuine growth is humility. Humility is not just about lowering ourselves, but about recognizing our limitations, being open to new perspectives, and acknowledging that we do not have all the answers. It is this humble posture that opens the door for growth and continuous learning, allowing us to evolve into the individuals we are meant to be. Humility begins with the acknowledgement that we are not perfect and that there is always more for us to learn. The Bible teaches us in Proverbs 11:2, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. This verse emphasizes that pride can block growth and learning, while humility clears the way for wisdom to enter. When we approach life with humility, we open ourselves to receiving knowledge, insights, and experiences that can shape us in profound ways. Humility allows us to admit when we don't know something or when we need help. In a culture that often glorifies self-sufficiency and the illusion of having it all together, humility is a breath of fresh air. It frees us from the pressure of always appearing as though we have everything figured out. When we embrace humility, we create space for others to teach us and for us to grow through their wisdom and experiences. As the Apostle James says in James 1:5, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." By humbling ourselves, we open the door to receive wisdom, whether from God or through the people He places in our lives. One of the most significant aspects of humility is the ability to learn from mistakes. Life is filled with challenges, and none of us are exempt from failure. Yet, how we respond to failure can greatly impact our personal growth. Humility allows us to view our mistakes not as something to be ashamed of, but as opportunities to learn. Rather than letting our pride keep us in a cycle of defensiveness, humility enables us to reflect on our actions, understand what went wrong, and make the necessary changes to improve. Through this process, we gain not only wisdom, but also character, resilience, and strength. Moreover, humility keeps our hearts open to feedback and correction. No one has all the answers, and no one is beyond improvement. When we humble ourselves to listen to others, even when it's difficult to hear, we are opening the door to invaluable growth. This can be especially true in our relationships, where the ability to listen to others and accept constructive criticism is vital for building healthy connections. In doing so, we grow not just as individuals, but as partners, friends, and leaders. Another powerful aspect of humility is that it allows us to see the value in others. When we approach others with humility, we acknowledge their inherent worth and their potential to teach us. No one has lived the same life, and everyone carries unique experiences and wisdom. By embracing humility, we allow ourselves to grow from the diverse perspectives and knowledge that others bring into our lives. As the Bible tells us in Romans 12:3, "For by the grace given me I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you." In other words, humility helps us to recognize and value the contributions of others, and in turn, we become richer and wiser for it. Humility is a powerful force that opens the door to growth and learning. It allows us to admit our limitations, embrace new perspectives, and learn from both successes and failures. Humility invites wisdom into our lives and creates the space for us to continually evolve. When we approach life with a humble heart, we not only unlock the potential for personal growth, but also foster stronger relationships, deeper understanding, and greater wisdom. Humility, therefore, is not a weakness, but a strength that empowers us to become better, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. Purpose anchors us in times of struggle. In the journey of life, struggle and hardship are inevitable. Whether it's personal challenges, professional setbacks, or moments of profound loss, everyone faces times of difficulty. However, in these difficult moments, one of the most powerful tools we have for perseverance is our sense of purpose. Purpose is not just a lofty concept or a vague ideal. It is the deeply rooted reason we keep moving forward, even when circumstances seem overwhelming. Purpose anchors us in times of struggle, giving us the strength and determination to press on despite the obstacles that stand in our way. A life without purpose is like a ship drifting aimlessly on the sea, vulnerable to the forces of nature with no direction or goal. In contrast, when we have a clear sense of purpose, we are like that same ship with a steady rudder and a clear destination. Purpose provides direction, motivation, and resilience, helping us to stay grounded in the midst of storms. It reminds us that our lives have meaning, and our struggles are not pointless. They are part of a larger story, a story in which we are contributing to something greater than ourselves. The Bible offers many examples of individuals who faced incredible struggles, yet were sustained by their sense of purpose. The Apostle Paul, for example, endured imprisonment, shipwrecks, beatings, and rejection, yet he pressed forward with a clear mission to spread the gospel. In his letter to the Philippians, he writes, "I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." Philippians 3:14. Paul's purpose was clear. He was called to share the good news of Jesus Christ. And no matter the obstacles he faced, that purpose kept him anchored and moving forward. In the same way, when we hold tightly to our purpose, we are empowered to overcome challenges and continue our journey with determination and faith. Purpose also serves as a source of perspective in times of hardship. When we struggle, it can be easy to become overwhelmed by the immediate circumstances, the pain, the frustration, the uncertainty. Yet when we view our struggles through the lens of purpose, they take on a different significance. Purpose helps us see that even our trials are part of a process, and that process is leading us toward growth, strength, and transformation. Just as gold is refined through fire, our struggles can refine and strengthen us, making us more resilient and better prepared for the future. Romans 5:3-4 tells us, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope." This verse reminds us that struggle is not meaningless. It is an essential part of the journey toward our ultimate purpose. Another key aspect of purpose in times of struggle is its ability to help us remain focused. When we are going through difficult times, it's easy to become distracted by feelings of despair or self-doubt. Purpose helps us to maintain a clear vision of what we are striving for, even when we can't see the immediate results. It gives us something to hold on to when everything else feels uncertain. Purpose helps us stay grounded in our why, even when our house seems unclear. This focus can provide a sense of peace and clarity, knowing that our struggle is not in vain. In addition to providing focus and perspective, Purpose gives us a deep well of strength to draw from. When we are weary and exhausted, we often look to our purpose for the strength to keep going. It's like a reservoir that we can tap into when we feel like giving up. For those who are anchored in a purpose greater than themselves, whether it's serving others, fulfilling a calling, or living according to their faith, this sense of purpose can provide an unshakable strength that allows them to keep pressing forward. No matter how difficult the journey may seem, purpose is the anchor that holds us steady in times of struggle. It gives us direction, perspective, and strength, allowing us to navigate through hardship with resilience and hope. When we are rooted in purpose, our struggles are not just obstacles, they become part of the larger story of our growth, our impact, and our journey toward fulfillment. Purpose empowers us to endure, to rise above, and to keep moving forward, knowing that our struggles are not in vain, and that ultimately, they are shaping us into the people we were always meant to become. Resilience through adversity. Resilience is not merely a concept, it is the very essence of survival. It is the strength to endure, to adapt, and to rise again after facing unimaginable hardships. In the context of Black history, resilience is not just a trait, but a legacy that has been passed down through generations. Black people have faced some of the harshest adversities in human history: slavery, colonialism, segregation, systemic racism, and economic inequality, yet they have continuously demonstrated an indomitable will to overcome. The story of resilience begins with the painful history of slavery. For centuries, millions of Africans were ripped from their homelands, torn from their families, and subjected to the most dehumanizing conditions. They were transported across vast oceans, forced into labor, and treated as property rather than human beings. The brutality of this system is almost beyond comprehension, yet the strength of those enslaved transcended their circumstances. Their resilience was rooted in their refusal to be broken. Despite facing constant violence, forced assimilation, and the stripping away of their identities, they managed to keep their culture. Enslaved Africans and their descendants found ways to resist their oppression, both subtly and overtly. From creating escape networks like the Underground Railroad to organizing revolts on plantations, the refusal to accept oppression became an act of resilience. Even in the face of the harshest cruelty, they held on to their belief that freedom was their right, and that one day they would be able to reclaim their humanity. This strength is not only visible in the individual acts of resistance, but also in the survival of their families, communities, and culture. In the face of brutality, they found ways to sing, to pray, to laugh, and to love. These seemingly small acts were, in fact, powerful declarations of their humanity. As Black people in America and around the world struggled for freedom, the next chapters of resilience came in the form of the civil rights movement and other global liberation struggles. During this period, the fight for equality reached a critical point. The horrors of slavery had been abolished, but racism, discrimination, and segregation remained deeply ingrained in society. Black people were still fighting for basic human rights: freedom to vote, freedom to be treated equally in schools, jobs, and public spaces, and freedom to live without the constant threat of violence. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and countless others became symbols of resilience, showing that even in the face of violence, oppression, and threats to their lives, they would not back down. King's famous words, "I have a dream," encapsulated the hopes of an entire generation of Black people who refused to accept a future defined by injustice. Even though they were often met with fire hoses, police dogs, and violent opposition, they stood firm. They marched, they protested, and they fought not with violence, but with a belief that love, unity, and nonviolent resistance were powerful forces of change. The resilience of Black people during the civil rights movement didn't just change laws, it shifted the very conscience of a nation. It became clear that no matter how much racism and hatred tried to hold Black people down, their spirit was unbreakable. They fought not only for their own liberation, but for the dignity and rights of all people. The power of their voices, their courage, and their refusal to accept the status quo helped pave the way for greater equality and justice, though the fight is far from over. Resilience also manifests in the continued fight against modern systemic racism. While slavery and legal segregation have ended, the impact of those historical injustices lingers in the systems that govern education, healthcare, employment, and the criminal justice system. Disproportionate rates of incarceration, police violence, and economic disenfranchisement are all symptoms of a persistent legacy of inequality. Yet, in the face of these challenges, Black people continue to show resilience through movements like Black Lives Matter and the ongoing advocacy for social, political, and economic change. Today's generation of Black leaders, activists, and thinkers demonstrate the same courage and conviction that fueled past generations. The resilience of Black people is not merely about survival, it is about thriving in the face of adversity. It's about taking the tools of oppression and using them to build new systems, new ideas, and new pathways to success. The resilience of Black people can be seen in every sphere of life, from arts and culture to business, science, politics, and beyond. Black musicians, writers, actors, athletes, scientists, and entrepreneurs have created and shaped industries that impact the entire world. They didn't allow the limitations imposed upon them to define their potential. Instead, they forged their own path, proving that resilience is not just about withstanding adversity, but about thriving despite it. The essence of resilience in Black history lies in the fact that despite enduring generations of hardship, Black people have never lost their vision for a better future. This vision is carried through their children, their communities, and their ancestors. It's a vision that fuels every act of defiance, every protest, every song, and every dream. Resilience in its truest form is about holding on to the belief that no matter how hard life gets, there is always a way forward. The story of Black resilience is a story of hope, strength, and transformation. It reminds us all that even in the darkest of times, there is always light to be found, and that no challenge is too great for those who have the courage to fight for what is right. Black history is a testament to the unwavering power of the human spirit, and as long as there is life, there will be resilience to carry us through the toughest of adversities. Celebrating legacy, shaping the future. The legacy of Black people is a history of immense strength, resilience, and profound cultural contributions to the world. It is a history that has shaped not only the fabric of nations, but also the very essence of humanity. From the days of enslavement to the modern-day fight for justice, Black history is a testament to the unyielding power of perseverance, unity, and vision. To celebrate this legacy is to honor the lives and sacrifices of those who fought for freedom, dignity, and equality, while simultaneously acknowledging the ongoing work needed to shape a brighter, more equitable future for generations to come. The celebration of Black legacy is rooted in the recognition of the extraordinary individuals, communities, and movements that have shaped the course of history. These leaders, thinkers, artists, activists, and everyday people have given us examples of how to endure hardship and emerge with purpose. Figures like Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Bubbly B. Du Bois, and Malcolm X stand as monumental pillars in the Black struggle for equality. Their lives and contributions represent not just their individual triumphs, but the collective hope of countless others fighting for liberation and justice. Harriet Tubman, an escaped slave, became a conductor on the Underground Railroad, risking her life to lead other enslaved Black people to freedom. Tubman's bravery and determination were grounded in her belief that no matter the obstacles, freedom was worth fighting for. Similarly, Frederick Douglass, born into slavery, used his voice to advocate for the abolition of slavery, speaking eloquently on behalf of those who had been denied their humanity. His written works and speeches were not just calls for freedom, but also a demand for the recognition of Black people's intellectual and moral worth. These icons are not isolated in their impact. Their influence resonates through every corner of society. In the world of politics, figures like Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman elected to Congress, and Barack Obama, the first black president of the United States, have carried forward the belief that leadership should be inclusive and representative of all people. In the realm of art, music, and culture, black individuals such as Maya Angelou, James Baldwin, Billie Holiday, and more recently Beyoncé, Kendrick Lamar, and Ava DuVernay have used their creativity to tell the stories of struggle, triumph, and identity, leaving an indelible mark on global culture. These figures and countless others have shown us that the celebration of Black legacy is not simply about remembering the past, but about continuing to push the boundaries of what is possible in the present and future. The way we celebrate Black history is a mirror to the progress of society. As we recognize their contributions, we are reminded of the ways in which we must continue to honor their work and protect their legacies by fighting for justice in our own time. Shaping the future is where the true power of legacy comes into play. While it is important to reflect on the victories and struggles of the past, it is even more important to ensure that those victories continue to inspire action. In today's world, Black people continue to face systemic racism, economic inequality, and social injustice. The same forces that once tried to keep Black communities enslaved and segregated now work to perpetuate cycles of poverty, discrimination, and violence. But despite these ongoing challenges, the legacy of Black resistance, innovation, and leadership continues to serve as a blueprint for those working to create positive change. One of the most significant aspects of shaping the future is the role of education and empowerment. The ancestors who fought for the right to read and write did so not just for themselves, but for generations to come. Today, Black leaders, educators, and activists continue to build upon this foundation. They understand that the fight for justice does not end with legislation or protest, but is carried forward through the transformation of minds, hearts, and communities. Organizations like the United Negro College Fund, UNCF, the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, TIMP, and movements like Black Lives Matter are integral in shaping the future. They are not just organizations, they are beacons of hope and empowerment, showing that the legacy of Black excellence is alive and well. These movements continue to fight for the resources and opportunities that will allow the next generation of Black leaders to flourish, from education to political representation to economic advancement. Shaping the future also requires confronting uncomfortable truths and addressing the structural inequities that persist. The fight for justice is ongoing. It is not enough to simply celebrate the victories of the past without acknowledging the work that is still to be done. Black communities have endured centuries of systemic oppression, and dismantling those systems requires constant vigilance, collaboration, and action. But within this struggle lies the power to shape a future that is not just for Black people, but for everyone who believes in fairness, equality, and the potential of all people to thrive. In every sphere, whether politics, entertainment, sports, or business, Black people continue to rise to the occasion, demonstrating the power of legacy and the potential of the future. The achievements of the past, from the leadership of Martin Luther King Jr. to the creativity of artists like Nina Simone and the athleticism of Jackie Robinson, provide us with both inspiration and a roadmap for the future. They teach us that the pursuit of justice is a continuous journey, not a destination. Ultimately, the celebration of Black legacy is about recognizing the interconnected history, present struggles, and future aspirations. It is about understanding that each victory and each step forward builds upon the work of those who came before. It is about understanding that Black history is not just a series of events, but a living, breathing narrative that is continuously unfolding, shaping the world for future generations. By honoring this legacy, we have the opportunity and responsibility to ensure that the future we create will be one that reflects the values of equality, justice, and unity. The future is not a distant dream. It is something that can be shaped with every decision we make today. And in honoring the legacy of Black people, we can create a future where everyone has the opportunity to opportunity to the potential and contribute to the world in meaningful ways. Unity and empowerment. Unity and empowerment are two of the most powerful forces that drive progress and change in society. These principles are deeply embedded in the history and struggle of Black people. Throughout history, unity has been the cornerstone upon which Black communities have built resilience and fought against oppression. And empowerment has been the key to unlocking the potential of individuals and communities to create lasting change. Together, unity and empowerment have formed the foundation of movements, revolutions, and transformations that have redefined the future for Black people and for the world.